Hello, I'm Dave Roberts, and welcome to this latest episode of our Seat to Street podcast. Over the next few weeks, we'll be meeting some of those people who are about to be ordained deacon at the ordination services in Carlisle Cathedral at the end of June. You'll hear the wonderful ways in which God is moving in their lives as they look to grow disciples in their local settings, and we'll hear how they recognise God's call to take the plunge into ordained ministry. I really hope you enjoy listening to their stories. So I'm joined by Rachel Milburn. Rach, where will you be based?
I'm going to be based in Penrith at St Andrews at Christchurch and Newton Reddy.
Great. Okay, so the first question is a really simple question, but it's a long answer. So tell me a little bit about yourself in terms of your background, your faith journey, what you've done for a living over the years.
Yeah, sure. I've been born and bred over on the eastern side of the county. I was born in Brough, and I lived on a farm with my parents, my two sisters. I got married when I was quite young. I was 21 when I got married to my husband, and we lived in Brough, and then we moved up onto North Stainmore, where we're based at now. We live on a farm. We have about 150 sheep and 3 daughters. One of which has got married, one of which is just finishing university, and the last one is about to go to university. So they're getting up now. I've done quite a few different jobs in my lifetime, but I worked for a joinery manufacturer as an office manager when I finished college. And then after I had my children, I worked for my mum's business. I used to make ice cream for a living. She's got an ice cream parlour at Brough Castle Farm. And then I felt called to do something extra. At the time, I was doing some volunteering at a local youth group and helping out with Network Youth Church. I was just a volunteer, and then the leader left, and Richard Passmore said, "You should apply for that job." And I was like, "Oh no, I don't want to do it full time." But anyway, I did, and I've absolutely loved it. It's been a real ride, and I've had the best time. But a couple of years ago, just before COVID, it was about 2018. I'd taken a group of young people to Soul Survivor Camp, and one of the young people came over to me and said, "I feel that God's telling you've got to step out of the boat." And I was like, "Oh, right, that's nice. Yeah, lovely, off you go." And then that night, a different one from someone else's youth group came over to me and said, "I've had a picture for you that you've got to jump out of the aeroplane without a parachute on." And I thought, "Oh, there's something here." And just over the course of that week, I kind of felt that God was telling me that I needed to step away from my mum's business, which I was a key part of, that I was to really step into something extra, more than Network Youth Church, really. So I had a conversation with the DDO. I said, "I think I'm being called to ordained ministry." And he was like, "I don't think you are, but we'll see." So he said, "I feel that you're more pioneering." So I said, "Okay, let's do that." So off I went for another, 4 years maybe. I did the Pioneer Certificate with the Northern Mission Centre. Did lots of external training with CMS and bits and bobs. And I still felt that the scratch hadn't been itched. And so I went back to the DDO and I said, "I still feel that there's something there." And he said, "Okay, then let's look at it a bit more." So then I met up with an ADDO who kind of walked me through the process. Within about 3 meetings, she said, "Yeah, you need to go to national selection and just see how it's going to land." So I did some work. I had a Zoom stage 1 and passed that with flying colours, to everybody's surprise, including my own. It was right in the middle of lambing time, and I was very stressed. And I remember having to step out at my lunch break and go and lamb a sheep, and then run back in again and carry on with my Zoom call. So yeah, I passed that, and I went straight forward for stage 2 with no recommendations. And that went. I flew through that as well. That was absolutely terrifying. I would not like to go through that again. But yeah, passed that, and so this started me on the Emmanuel Theological College training programme. And then just before I was about to start in September, and in August, they suggested that I did another panel and did a pioneer panel. But I said, no, thank you. I'll just do the standard Ordinand, which was going to be ALP, an action learning pathway. So that's what I've done. So I'm just about to finish. I've got one lecture left, one assignment, and then I'm done. So it's getting close now.
Where has your faith been throughout your life, Rach? Where, have you always attended church? Has faith always been there for you?
Yeah, it definitely has. I was born and bred in the Anglican Church. I was baptized in Brough Church. My dad was a Methodist. He'd always gone to church 3 times on a Sunday from being little. My mum was born and bred in the Anglican Church, and so I was always taken. I was baptized there. I went to Sunday school. I stepped away for my teenage years briefly. I got a job when I was 12 working at the riding stables, and it was on a Sunday. And my mum said, "You can't do it. You've got to go to church." So I made a deal with her that I would go to the 8 o'clock communion service in my stinky horse gear, and I sat with the old ladies. Like 6 of us sat in the choir stalls, and I did that for like 3 years. And looking back, I think there's not many teenagers would do that, but it was, it's all about relationship. And those little old ladies were very, very precious to me. There's only one left now. Hopefully she'll be at my ordination service. But yeah, so then I got married when I was 21, and my husband was a Methodist, a big Methodist family. They'd always gone to the local chapel. And when we moved on to Stainmore, we were close to the Methodist chapel. So he said, "I think we should go to the chapel." And I was like, no, we need to stay at church. But he struggled it with all the liturgy in church. He wanted to go to chapel. So for years, we went to the Methodist chapel. 2 of my daughters were baptized at the Methodist chapel as babies. And then it closed down. So we went back to the church. At the time, we had a new vicar who was part-time Fresh Expressions and part-time vicar, and he was starting up all sorts of funky things like pub church and chats with pints of view and things like that. And he started off messy church, and my first 2 daughters were quite young, and I went along. I thought, this is really good. It was a brand new thing. They enjoyed it. I thought it was great. And then after some time, he started cancelling it. And I said, "I'll run it," because he wasn't very well. "I'll run it until you come back." And so I ran it for 6 months, and then he left. He never came back. So I held on to it for a while, and we were in interregnum in those days, was like 18 months long period. So I said, "I'll do it until the next vicar comes." And the next vicar came, and he really wasn't interested in children's work. So I carried on then. By this time, I was running stuff in the primary school. I was running a kids' choir. I was doing welcomes for all the new families that were moving in. I used to bake them a cake and take them some literature about what night to put your bins out and when you can, where you can get fish and chips and stuff like that. And I built a community of people. We did a holiday club, and the children's work was then really flourishing. My messy churches had over 40 odd families. It was brilliant. We had such a great time. But my own children were then getting a little bit older, and I was starting to think, what's next for them? So I started volunteering with the local youth group, and I've kind of done both for the last 20 years, but less children's work now. But it's so important to me, ministry with children and families. It's where my passion lies. And I've loved it. It's been a wild and crazy ride, but I've learned so much. And the diocese has been fantastic in resourcing me. So when I've needed some money, they've given me some. When I've needed some support, I've had it. I felt like I've been networked really well. I know a lot of people. I know where to go when I need a hand. So yeah, it's been great. And for my own faith, I think we also had another couple in our community that once a month ran an evening service. So I was going to the 10:30 stuff and doing Sunday school and all of that. But in the evening, once a month, we went to the church hall, and this couple had come out of the Vineyard Church. So they brought in like live worship, like modern contemporary worship, and we had prayer ministry. And the gifts of the Spirit were really encouraged. And I was like, what on earth is this? So it took me a little while to get used to it, but then once I was bitten, that was it. And I'd climbed over hot coals to get to that service. I absolutely loved it. I think I encountered the Holy Spirit properly for the first time there, and it's just addictive. So that was a like transformative time. I reconfirmed my confirmation promises amongst them. I just felt that I needed a fresh start, and it was kind of the start of my ministry. Actually, it happened all at the same time. So yeah, it was a brilliant time. So I've had quite a varied variety of like styles of Anglican worship. I don't think I prefer one over the other. I think they all bring something different, and I gain a lot from each of them.
Brill.
Mm.
You talk about how your passion has been children and families work. How will that play out in your ordained ministry as you move forward?
I don't know yet. I mean, I've had some good chats with my new training incumbent, Dave Sargent, about what I'll do because I've got a lot of experience. I would like more experience with 18 to 30s because that's kind of where my children are now. And as you know, as a parent, you're always you kind of learn on the job, don't you? So when they're little, you're learning that. And now I'm up to the 18 to 30s. I'm thinking, well, how can church be relevant for them? So I'd like to do more of that, really. But I think, I'm really good at building teams. I'm really good at networking, and I'm really good at enabling others. So I think the wisdom that I'll bring to the table will be valuable for the Penrith team. They've already got a lot of stuff going, and I think they would like to kind of join the dots for some bits that maybe, need a little bit of work. They wanted me to do some work with baptism families, encouraging them into what they call ladybirds, which is their children's work, and then building on the children's work to get them into something called Worship Together, which is on, I think, twice a month on a Sunday morning. So I'll be doing a bit of that and probably have to do some collective worships and maybe some chaplaincy in Ullswater School. At the moment, as part of my Network Youth Church job, I run a service in Kirby Stephen Grammar School called Let's Talk, where I listen to young people who've got all sorts of troubles. So it could be like friendship stuff, it could be workload, bereavement, all kinds of mental health stuff. Just anything really. I'm just a pair of ears to listen to them, try and help them process how they're feeling. So yeah, hopefully I'll be able to do something like that, but we'll see.
And in terms of the offer was made about Pioneer
Yeah.
ministry, and you chose to decline that. What I've always thought of you as a pioneer person. So why move from pioneer to, if we can put it like traditional ordination pathway?
Yeah, I think I'd had a lot of experience of the pioneering stuff, and my training pathway wasn't really going to be any different.
Mm.
It might have meant more work, so I'd probably have had to still done what I've done, but there would have been extra elements on the side of it. But I don't know. I think I was still kind of like had a bit of PTSD from having to go to the second stage panel because it's terrifying, and it was all very rushed. It was very last minute. I don't know whether it was an afterthought or what, but I mean, I remember going to my stage 2 panel and saying, I really feel that I am called to be a pioneer. And one of the selection committee said, I think you'd be a better priest. She said to me, pioneering comes naturally to most good priests, natural pioneers. And she says, and I think you'll pick that up. She said, but I think it would be a waste if you didn't do that and you just went off building. She said, I think you can bring a lot to the traditional Anglican church too. And I was quite shocked by that because I'd never seen myself in that role really. But it's running through my veins, the pioneering stuff. But I think my style of church would be like a mixed ecology. I like to have one foot in and one foot out. So when I'm all the way pioneer out, I feel quite lonely, and I like the protection of the Church of England, and I like to be alongside people. I don't like being on my own. I like to be a part of a team. But also when I'm in, I sometimes feel a bit suffocated and I want to break out, and I struggle with traditional existing congregations. I'm always the person that's looking out the door thinking, oh, what about the one? Who's going to go and get the one? And that's my job. And I think you have to be quite brave to do that. And it doesn't faze me. I'm quite happy to, push the boundaries and say, no, let's go over here and have a look. Let's see what's happening here. And also I quite like looking to see what's already happening and then bringing a bit of Jesus into that. So all of the groups that I run a walking group on a Wednesday night with a group of local people aged between 7 and 77. And we go on a big walk and we reflect and we just journey. We just do life together. And, that's quite precious to me. I really enjoy that time. I've got another group of ladies who came around because I buried two of their husbands at the crematorium services, and one of them's dad. And I'd just started like a gathering, running some material by Charlotte Gamble called Outrageous Women. And I just wanted to invite 12 because I thought in my mind, that's what Jesus had. That'll be enough. And so we got a little bit of money from the Diocese for starting new initiatives, and I started this thing in the youth centre. So I cooked them a meal, and then we sat around and we watched this DVD, and then there was a workbook. And after week 2, it was quite clear that they were no longer interested in what Charlotte Gamble had to say. They just were building community. They were chat amongst each other. We were praying for each other. They were sharing what was going on their lives. And then, like I said, one of them's husband died. So we kind of rallied, and we were there for one another. And then a month later, another one's husband died unexpectedly. That was horrendous. And then another one, she was having marital troubles. And then the last one's dad died. And so what I'd had in my mind was this clear-cut ladies group that ended up like a big, messy, beautiful, chaotic thing, in which Jesus was in the center of it every single week, and the Holy Spirit was ministering to them just in such a lovely way. And I just used to sit back after, a long day at work, and then having to have cooked for them all, wash up after them all, but watching them with each other was just such a beautiful thing. And it just like enhanced my calling. I thought, this is what I've got to do. And so I've still got them. They're all there. They're very precious. They're all desperate for me to finish my training so that they can start up again, because everything's had to stop while I've been doing my training. So it's been, there's been a lot of times like that where it's been quite sad because I've had to put a lot of stuff down. By nature, I'm an activist. I like to be busy and I like to have a lot of stuff on the go, but also I'm very aware that I'm often on the cuff of burnout and I need to stop. So stuff had to be put down in order for me to get these assignments done, but we're nearly there, nearly finished.
Brilliant. The last question, as you approach ordination, is there a particular Bible verse or piece of scripture which has guided you and got you to where you need to be?
Yeah, there's quite a few. Oh heck, just one. Probably. Ooh, that's a good one. What's my favorite one? Proverbs 3, maybe. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understandings. Yeah, I think probably that. Proverbs 3. So King Solomon giving, wise advice to his son. And wisdom's one of the gifts that we have to, really strive for. And I think there's a lot in that passage that I hold on to, It also says, let love and faithfulness never leave you. Bind them around your neck and write them on the tablet of your heart. And that's such a core part of my ministry, love and faithfulness, just in my community, just doing the little unseen things, just loving and serving. I think that's probably my favourite one.
Well, there are a whole load of people within the communities that you've created who will be praying for you on Ordination Day. So thanks so much for all you've done and for your time.
Thank you.